Queenslanders to enjoy reinstated freedoms ahead of schedule while investigations continue into a coronavirus cluster in Victoria. The federal government refuses to apologise for its robo-debt fiasco as it faces repaying millions of dollars to welfare recipients. And ushering in a new era of space travel with the SpaceX launches 2 NASA astronauts into orbit. Hello, welcome to ABC News. I'm Catherine Robinson. The weather around the capital cities for tomorrow. Mostly sunny in Brisbane, a possible shower in Sydney, showers in Canberra and Melbourne. It'll be mostly sunny in Canberra. Showers will be easing for Adelaide, partly cloudy in Perth and a sunny day for Darwin. Well, cities across the United States are experiencing another night of protests over the death of an unarmed black man in custody. One person has been shot dead during protests in the US city of Indianapolis. At least 2 more people are reported to have been shot. In Minneapolis, the city where George Floyd died, the state's governor has fully mobilised the National Guard. In New York, protesters have clashed with police officers and set police cars on fire. In Los Angeles, authorities are cracking down on widespread looting and vandalism. One of the police officers dealing with the protests has urged people still causing damage on the streets of LA to go home. Those were just live pictures there of LA before. We've seemed to have gotten them back now. I'm not quite sure if that's still Los Angeles. It looks like we've moved to another state there. But we will go back and listen to what the LAPD had to say in the last few hours.
But we've suffered a humongous amount of damage and a tremendous amount of loss of property, of businesses that are struggling in the worst pandemic in 100 years. So I'm by no means satisfied, but I am committed, and I know that we have 13,000 men and women joined by our firefighters and being augmented now by sheriffs, regional law enforcement, and now the National Guard, because as first responders, as protectors, we're here to maintain order, we're here to restore order, and we're here to ensure that the democracy that we all enjoy continues.
That's the LAPD Chief Michael Moore speaking in the last hour or so. Well, more than a dozen cities are under a nighttime curfew as violent protests continue. Minnesota's governor has activated the state's National Guard to quell the unrest in Minneapolis, where George Floyd died on Monday. In an interview with MSNBC, George Floyd's brother called for tougher penalties for the officers involved.
They all need to be convicted of first-degree murder and given the death penalty, because they didn't care about what they wanted to do with my brother. He wasn't a person to them. He was scum. He was nothing. And I can imagine how many people they did like that. I don't need them on the streets to kill anybody else. I'm hurt. My family is hurt. His kids are hurt. They will grow up without a father. Everybody is crying and in pain right now. So if they can do anything, please arrest those other officers and give them murder 1.
Taking you back to those pictures from Los Angeles, which we lost just a moment ago. This is live from Los Angeles. It has just gone midnight there, local time. We've seen scenes of unrest with people looting department stores, burning buildings, and scenes of what is now escalating unrest, as it seems. The Mayor of Los Angeles has said the National Guard will be deployed overnight to help and quell the violence in the nation's second largest city there. Police in LA have fired rubber bullets as they've tried to disperse crowds who've thrown bottles and set fire to some squad cars. There have been images later which have shown people standing on police vehicles that have been damaged. There is vision that's emerged over the last few hours as nightfall descended on Los Angeles, where there was huge amounts of looting in large department stores, which seemed people just having a free-for-all, going in and taking what they could from large stores such as Targets and Walmarts, etc. These are scenes that we're seeing across America. More than 30 cities are experiencing protests of this nature. Some are quite peaceful in their nature, but many have descended to the scenes that we're seeing now, which are violent protests. There are many cities across the United States that are under curfew, which is being largely ignored. The cities that we're talking about, we're seeing protests in Phoenix, in San Francisco, in Dallas, in Salt Lake City, and in Minneapolis, of course, where it is where George Floyd died on Monday, which is where these protests have sparked from and seemingly have become more than just about this tragedy of George Foreman's death, but goes to the heart of racism in America. So we will keep across these pictures as the evening unfolds in the United States. As I said, these pictures from Los Angeles, it's just gone midnight there local time. Well, the US Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden has released a statement commenting on the protests taking place across America. He writes, "We're a nation in pain, but we must not allow this pain to destroy us. We're a nation in rage, but we cannot allow our rage to consume us. I will keep the commitment I made to George's brother that George will not just be a hashtag." The New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio has condemned the actions of violent protesters, but says most New Yorkers are behaving well.
New Yorkers all over the city have acted in the way we believe in this city, except for a very few individuals. New Yorkers have expressed their desire to address real issues and to address them the right way. And that's the peaceful protesters who have been out today, and then the millions of people who watched what was going on but didn't participate. But there were a small number who chose to commit acts of violence, who are here only, unfortunately, to agitate and to attack those who protect us, our police officers, and that's just unacceptable.
Bill de Blasio there. Well, a Minneapolis resident has filmed police shooting a paint canister towards a group of people on a porch. One person was hit as they watched the National Guard and police from their front porch in the inner city suburb. Police had yelled at the residents to get inside their house before shooting the canister.
Oh, there's more. Look at this. They just keep coming.
Go inside! Get inside! Get inside! Get inside! Get in your house now! Let's go! Light him up! Go inside now! Get in the house!
Get in.
Well, violent protests have erupted in Seattle, which was sparked by the death of George Floyd. In response, Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkan announced a citywide curfew. Former ABC journalist Helen Merkel has more from Seattle.
I live about half an hour away from where the protests were, and the mayor did, at about 5 o'clock, announce a 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew for tonight and tomorrow night. And there were fairly violent protests, from what I could see on the television, happening at the time there. I mean, in front of Nordstrom, which is sort of one of the iconic department stores. You know, Seattle's a very Scandinavian settled city. You know, it's the head of Boeing, Amazon, Microsoft, Expedia, Starbucks, Java, all those. We all know what Seattle is in terms of being a techno hub, but the Nordstrom is like that flag store that anchors the, let's say, the tourist heart of Seattle near Pike Place Market. If you've ever been there, there are about, I guess, 5 or 6 police cars parked in front of the store that were set on fire by protesters when the protest went violent. Like at about midday, there was a very peaceful protest about the George Floyd killing that has devastated, well, everyone around the world who's seen it. But then at some point, I don't quite know what the trigger was because, like I say, I wasn't there. It did become violent, and so those police cars were set on fire. The windows of Nordstrom were broken, looters went in, they took stuff. I mean, it's like the whole of Seattle, as you know, this part, Washington State, was one of the early outbreaks of COVID-19 in the United States. So we've all been under more or less house arrest. Well, not really, but stay at home except for going for a jog or going to the supermarket or something for 3 months. So downtown is not really open at the moment, but many of those stores were getting ready to open, and now they've been like trashed. You know, I don't even know how long it will take for the economic hit and the cleanup to happen. The fire department couldn't get in to put out the fires in those police cruisers or whatever they were in front of Nordstrom because there were so many people there. I did see, I don't know if you've seen that iconic, what I believe will be some sort of, you know, viral thing of the undercover policeman who took an AR-15 from one of the protesters who had reached in to one of those cruisers that had been burnt out, and he got a gun out, and this guy with it came up and he just took it from him. So the mayor was saying that 2 of those AR-15 were stolen, and 1 is still out there. My husband speculated that a lot of the explosions that we heard were that there were guns in those cars that, when they caught on fire, exploded. Did I expect this to happen? No. Did I expect to see those horrific images of George Floyd? I mean, I think none of us can look at them and not really want to get out there and protest. But I don't really understand what vandalism, how it helps. But I do understand the fury.
Well, Donald Betts, a former Democratic senator for the state of Kansas, who's based now in Melbourne, says nothing will calm the protesters until all 4 police officers involved in the death of George Floyd are arrested.
I was not surprised that this would happen if government didn't step up and do something significant to satisfy the people that they were going to get justice. Although Minneapolis has arrested 1 officer, I don't believe anything will calm unless all 4 officers are arrested. I've always felt that this was on the horizon. It was coming. And on the back of COVID-19, when you see over 100,000 Americans who have lost their lives, people are losing their jobs. It's the worst crisis since the Great Depression. People are literally looking over a cliff. And then when you release a video, when the truth has, I mean, pure evidence shows, you know, when, you know, that the truth is really revealed in full sight. These young people, they haven't really seen something like this. And to see an officer place his knee on the neck of a citizen with his hands in his pockets and staring down the camera, heartless, that scene right there gave young people, and a lot of these people are that are protesting are 25 and under. This generation is not the civil rights generation. This generation, they're ready for change, and they're the internet, social media generation. So it's quick. They need quick, immediate answers and quick, immediate justice, and they're not getting that. So as a result, this it's not a surprise to me, and it's happening all over the nation. In my city of Wichita, Kansas, they're having peaceful protests, and there are peaceful protests happening, but then you have the agitators that are not from those cities that want to agitate this thing to the point where there is mayhem and anarchy throughout the nation. And that's what's happening right now. It will only get worse before it gets better. And the only way that it will get better, they must go out and arrest the other 3 officers, at least to calm the situation down to levels where governments can get control. By governors releasing the National Guard, these young people will find that as a threat, and they will find other measures to inflict harm and protest and loot. It will only get worse. We need leaders on the ground that will, with a plan, and can calm the people down. Otherwise, it will be mayhem for more days or possibly weeks.
And as we can see from the pictures in the corner of your screen, they're live from Los Angeles, where